The Kuru kingdom, a realm steeped in tradition and destined for greatness, was ruled by King Shantanu. His reign was characterized by justice, prosperity, and a deep sense of duty towards his subjects. Yet, despite the outward stability and the blessings of his kingdom, a profound loneliness permeated the heart of the king. He was a monarch yearning for companionship, a ruler seeking a queen to share the burdens of his crown and the solitude of his palace. It was this deep-seated longing that led him, one fateful day, to the serene banks of the sacred Ganges River. The Ganges, a river revered for its purity and its life-giving flow, mirrored the king's own quest for solace and connection. As Shantanu wandered along its glistening waters, lost in contemplation, his gaze fell upon a sight that seemed to have drifted from the heavens themselves. There, seated by the riverbank, was a woman of unparalleled beauty and ethereal grace. Her presence radiated a divine luminescence, and her form seemed sculpted by the very elements of nature. She was Ganga, the celestial river goddess, who, for reasons that will be revealed later, had descended to the mortal realm. Shantanu, a king accustomed to the grandeur of his court and the deference of his people, found himself utterly captivated. It was not merely her physical beauty that ensnared his heart, but the aura of divinity that surrounded her, the serene power that emanated from her being. He approached her with a reverence that transcended the usual formalities of royal encounter. Their meeting was not one of chance, but a confluence of destinies, a silent acknowledgement of a profound connection that transcended the boundaries of mortal and divine. Their initial interactions were marked by a delicate dance of curiosity and awe. Shantanu, ever the gentleman and the king, sought to understand the presence of such a divine being in his kingdom. Ganga, in turn, responded with a grace that hinted at her celestial origins, her words carrying the mellifluous resonance of flowing water. The sacred riverbanks became their sanctuary, a place where their souls, one mortal and one divine, began to intertwine. Shantanu found in Ganga not just a companion, but a reflection of a higher existence, a being who understood the unspoken depths of his heart. The circumstances of their union were as unusual as their meeting. Ganga, it transpired, was not merely a beautiful woman, but a celestial nymph, a goddess of immense power and divine lineage. Her presence in the mortal world was a deviation from the cosmic order, a choice made for reasons that would soon unfold and shape the destiny of the Kuru kingdom. Shantanu, however, was too deeply enamored to question the divine decree that had brought Ganga into his life. He saw in her the fulfillment of his deepest desires, the answer to his prayers for a partner who could illuminate his life and his kingdom. The king, smitten by Ganga's celestial grace, proposed marriage. Ganga, in her ethereal wisdom, laid down a condition, a pact that would define the trajectory of their lives and the future of the Kuru lineage. She agreed to marry Shantanu and reside with him, but with a critical stipulation. Shantanu must not question any of her actions, no matter how peculiar or seemingly cruel they might appear. If he uttered a single word of protest or inquiry, she would immediately depart, taking with her the fruit of their union. Shantanu, blinded by his love and eager to embrace this divine union, readily agreed. He pledged his silence, his unquestioning acceptance of whatever Ganga might do. Thus, the celestial goddess Ganga became the queen of Hastinapura, gracing the royal court with her presence. For a time, their life together was idyllic. Shantanu's loneliness vanished, replaced by the radiant companionship of his divine queen. The kingdom flourished under their combined influence, the king's happiness reflecting in the prosperity of his people. However, the celestial nature of Ganga soon began to manifest in ways that would test Shantanu's solemn promise. Their union was not a simple marriage in the conventional sense, but a celestial pact, a divine blessing bestowed upon the mortal realm. One by one, Ganga bore children to Shantanu. But as soon as each child was born, a shocking act followed. Ganga, in her divine capacity and perhaps under some celestial obligation or decree, would take the newborn infant and, without hesitation, cast it into the flowing waters of the sacred river that bore her name. The first child, a son, was snatched from the midwife's arms and unceremoniously drowned in the Ganges. Shantanu, witnessing this horrifying spectacle, was consumed by a grief so profound that it threatened to shatter his very being. His heart cried out against this barbarity. His paternal instincts screamed in protest. Yet, bound by his sacred vow, he remained silent. He could only watch, his throat choked with unshed tears, as his child was lost to the unforgiving embrace of the river. He dared not question, dared not speak, lest he lose the goddess who had brought such light into his life. This tragic ritual was repeated 7 times. 7 sons were born to Shantanu and Ganga, and 7 times the king was forced to witness their brutal demise at the hands of their own mother. Each time, his agony intensified, his silence a heavier burden than any crown. He was a king who could not protect his own progeny, a husband who could not question his wife's unfathomable actions. The royal palace, once a symbol of strength and lineage, became a monument to Shantanu's silent suffering and Ganga's inscrutable divine will. The courtiers and the citizens whispered, their fear and confusion palpable. They saw their king's profound sadness, his haunted eyes, and the unexplainable absence of any royal heir. Rumors circulated, ranging from divine displeasure to a curse upon the royal line. But no one dared to question the queen, whose ethereal aura and commanding presence seemed to shield her from any mortal inquiry. Shantanu, trapped between his love for Ganga and his duty as a father and king, bore his torment in stoic silence, his promise a cage around his heart. Ganga, though she performed these acts with an outward calmness, was not devoid of emotion. Her grief was a celestial sorrow, a burden she carried as part of a cosmic agreement. She knew the price of her divine intervention in the mortal world, the karmic debts that needed to be settled. Yet she also knew that the 8th child, destined to be born, would be different. This child was not merely a product of her union with Shantanu, but a fulfillment of a divine promise made in the celestial realms, a promise that would bind her actions and her fate to the mortal king and his kingdom in a unique way. The 8th child, a son, was born under circumstances that felt different. The celestial energies around Ganga seemed to hum with anticipation, and the very air in the palace felt charged with an unseen power. This time, when Ganga took the infant, Shantanu's heart pounded with a familiar dread, but also a glimmer of hope. Ganga looked at her husband, her eyes reflecting a profound sadness, a silent apology, and a resolute purpose. She had, in this instance, fulfilled a celestial obligation, a debt to the gods, and a promise to the universe. The gods themselves had once cursed the 8 Vases, celestial beings of immense power, to be born on earth and suffer the consequences of their transgressions. She had fulfilled this task with her first 7 children, drowning them to return them to their celestial abodes. But for the 8th Vasu, the circumstances were different. He had been the one who had instigated the transgression, and for his actions, he was destined to live a full life on earth, to experience the trials and tribulations of mortality, and to become a beacon of righteousness and sacrifice. Ganga knew that this child was destined for greatness, for a life that would be marked by unparalleled dharma and unyielding resolve. She also knew that her pact with Shantanu was nearing its end. She had carried out her divine duty, her cosmic promise, and now it was time for her to return to her celestial abode. But before she departed, she sought to reassure Shantanu, to explain in her own enigmatic way the significance of this last child. She revealed to Shantanu that this son was no ordinary mortal. He was blessed by the gods, imbued with divine qualities, and destined to become a pillar of strength for the Kuru dynasty. She told Shantanu that she is taking the boy with her, and when the time comes, the boy will return to him. Then, with a poignant glance that held a universe of unspoken emotions, Ganga, the river goddess, turned and disappeared with the boy, melting back into the cosmic currents from which she had emerged. The departure of Ganga left an unfillable void in Shantanu's life and in the Kuru palace. The king was plunged back into a deep melancholic state, his joy now tinged with the indelible sorrow of his lost children and the departure of his divine queen. He found himself once again alone, the silence of his chambers amplifying his grief. The memory of Ganga, of her celestial beauty and her inscrutable actions, haunted his waking hours and his dreams. He would often visit the banks of the Ganges, searching for a glimpse of her, for a sign that she might return. But the river flowed on, indifferent to his sorrow.